Was Keir Starmer responsible for a blunder that saw thousands of child rapists escape justice?
That investigation should have led to serious charges of child rape on a pretty industrial scale. But that job was closed down deliberately by Greater Manchester Police.
With the grooming gangs, it's almost like a mafioso-style situation. They feel untouchable.
On this episode, we expose the paedophile ASBOs and we investigate if they were used to cover up grooming gangs for decades. Well, this is where I think the warning notices come in, because those get handed out and then an investigation can be part.
We had an idea of what's going on because the police know what's going on. They've been told by the senior officers to leave it alone.
She was a child, he was an adult. My child didn't deserve to die like that.
This makes stuff go away. Are they a cover-up tool?
These are inadequate. They're seen as a disruption.
You got to do something about this.
That's why I did what I did in the Crown Prosecution Service, because I could see what the problem was.
He's not the Director of Public Prosecutions anymore. He is the Prime Minister. People want to know.
Oh my God. Oh.
Tell us the truth about grooming gangs, Prime Minister! This clip from a 2012 Channel 4 news report shows a Pakistani man who's been texting a 14-year-old girl in care from Derby. Instead of arresting him, police issue him with a child abduction warning notice. To understand exactly what these notices are and how they affected grooming gang investigations, we've invited Maggie Oliver, the Rochdale whistleblower cop, to our offices to explain her experiences of them. Can you explain to me what a child abduction warning notice actually is?
It's a bit like an antisocial behaviour order for child abusers. If the police have suspicion that predominantly a man is abusing or exploiting a child, but they might believe there isn't sufficient evidence to prosecute, or in my opinion, they think this is an easy way to get rid of that job, they will go and warn the man who is exploiting or that child or children and tell them to stay away from that child. And it's recorded in a notebook, but there is no prosecution. It's not a criminal conviction. To me, it's like a slap on the wrist. And in my experience in the police, I've seen them used as a way to get rid of a job that they didn't want to take any further. But when I worked on Operation Augusta in Manchester, remember that was a case where we had identified 97 child abusers. We'd got over 3 dozen children that we knew were being abused. It ultimately turned out in the review that there were over 70. For me, that investigation should have led to serious charges of child rape on a pretty industrial scale. But that job was closed down deliberately by Greater Manchester Police. My husband was terminally ill and I went off work while the job was still a full major incident, where we were putting all the information on the database. I expected multiple charges of rape against possibly dozens of men. When I came back to work, the job had been closed down. And when I challenged it with everybody who would listen to me, senior officers, I was told that there was insufficient evidence, but don't worry, we've warned a couple of men under the child abduction warning notices. Now, everybody who worked on that case knew that this wasn't somebody just taking a child in a car. They were taking them to houses where they were being raped on an industrial scale. So it was completely inappropriate for the magnitude of that job. Those child abduction warning notices were insufficient to deal with the volume and the seriousness of the offending that Augusta had identified. So my opinion is that it was used to get rid of a job that was seen as trouble and too much work, and they wouldn't put the resources into doing a proper job. For serious sexual abusers, these are inadequate. They're seen as a disruption tactic, and it shouldn't be used as a way to get rid of a very serious investigation.
To understand how a grooming gang might react to having someone from the group handed a paedophile ASBO, we asked a lawyer who represents them.
With the grooming gangs, it's almost like a mafioso-style situation. In their local communities, they feel untouchable. They almost control that area. And with the gangs that I've dealt with, you might have one person who's arrested under suspicion of grooming, but for one person that's involved, that person may have 10 or 20 other connections, and those people have not been arrested and not known. Well, I don't think they're known to the police. So there is a massive setup that goes on within these areas, and it makes it difficult to investigate. But the problem with the grooming gangs has been a reluctance to investigate for other reasons. We had an idea of what's going on because the police know what's going on. You know, I talked to some of the junior officers and they say they've been told by the senior officers to leave it alone. So they can't investigate, which is, you think it's contrary to what the police should be doing. The police should be investigating crime. So for a police officer to be informed that there's potential serious crime here and then told by somebody more senior, actually stay away from that, we're not going there, and there's no further action taken, is strange.
Well, this is where I think the warning notices come in, because those get handed out and then an investigation can be parked.
Well, you'd think so, wouldn't you? I mean, that just seems absolutely ideal for those types of notices.
We wanted to see the real-world consequences of these paedophile ASBOs on victims and their families. This led us to Susan Boxall, whose daughter Georgie died from an overdose of drugs given to her by a 25-year-old man who'd been served 2 notices to protect the girl he'd given drugs to from the age of 13.
Well, Georgie was a normal, happy girl, full of fun, laughter and humour when she was 13. And then about 13 and a half, she met somebody and it was an older person, and we found out that he was giving her drugs, and we never knew when we were going to get a phone call whether she was going to be in hospital, whether she'd been found somewhere where she'd... and she was a child, and she was with an older person, and we kept on and on at the police. I personally don't believe the police took it seriously enough. I was really upset. I was so mad. Anyway, she went and got in the car with Les, and I said to him, "What are you doing? You say you love my daughter. Look at her." I said, "If you love someone, you protect them." And he said to me, "I'm never going to leave her alone, ever. You better get used to it." Because he said, I'm in her life and I'm never going to leave her alone. She was, and ended up in hospital again, then ended up in the children's home. He kept giving her drugs, and it was powerful stuff. And it gave her the drug that killed her in the end. And we tried to tell them how serious this was, but it was like, oh, it's a boyfriend that they don't like type of thing. How can you, boyfriend with a 13, 14-year-old girl? No. They didn't see what I saw. They didn't seem to, or they didn't want to.
At the time, did you think, why is he not being investigated or arrested for sexual offences with a child, when some of the situations that he was being found with Georgie in?
We kept going back to the police, we kept on and on and on, but no one seemed to do anything. Not her fault. She was a child. He was an adult. My child didn't deserve to die like that. Oh my God. Oh. Wow. This is awful. You got to do something about this, because this is awful. And can you imagine that it's down to him, all of this? This upsets me, to be honest. But can you see why so many things went under the radar, if that was the case? Because they were, with people like that, he hid them.
I mean, that was the first time that we could find, they say that they're developing these orders to deal with it, and it's a year or a couple of years later, Georgie dies.
I can't believe that. That's really, really shocking, isn't it? God. Well, they didn't work, Mr. Starmer, did they?
In this episode, we demand answers from Keir Starmer about the paedophile ASBOs. Have a read of the name that's on that.
Yeah, Keir Starmer.
First time I came across one of these paedophile ASBOs was when I was looking into London's grooming gangs.
Thousands of these notices have been handed out.
It looks like he was responsible for that.
And there's little sign of a proper system to follow them up.
You're handing a paedophile a letter and basically saying, continue.
Tell us the truth about grooming gangs, Prime Minister!